we went to a restaurant. It was an Italian restaurant, and we didn't know what to have with the pasta we were having. So we asked for recommendation, and the waiter recommended, at that time, this was in the early 80s, white Zinfandel, which is kind of like a blush wine, and it's pink and it's kind of sweeter. But with the pasta, it was very garlicky, and it went really well with it. So that was the first time I ever had a wine that went well with a meal, and that's what sort of got me sort of interested in having wine with food.
I quite literally fell into it. I broke my foot by jumping off of a balcony, so I couldn't work, and I had the option to go to school and get into the wine program at Niagara College. And it was a great course, the CAPS program out of Niagara. And now I'm here and still learning. I'm responsible for all that, and that's only about half of it. There's way more in the back.
My name is Marie Graham. I am one of the owners of a business called The Wine Cellar. We've been in business, which is an on-premise winemaking business for almost 17 years now. So this is a place where people come in and actually make their own wine. Once they decide what they like to make, then we go into the area in the back and we put everything together. We throw the juice into a fermenting pail. We top it up with water. And the customer's part is they have to throw in the yeast. So it's a simple task of ripping open their package of yeast, throwing it into a pail of juice. When people come back here, they use our facilities and our equipment, and they do the bottling. Then the hardest part about making wine is for the people when they come in and they bottle it and they take it home, is not drinking it.
My name's Elisa Smith. Ocala Orchards Farm Winery opened in 1995. This particular location is the site of my husband's family farm. We were originally dairy farmers. We are we classify ourselves as a tourist winery in Ontario. So our people come to us and they have to purchase the wine right directly here from the winery. If we have a tour at the winery, you just give you a little history, background of the family, and then we take you outside, show you the pressing area, then we walk through the tank room. We talk about the difference between making fruit wine versus grape wine, basically explain the process, whatnot, and then they come back and they have a taste.
There's a legend, I guess, that it was in the King's Court, there was somebody the food taster, and that extended to the wine tasting as well. If it was poisoned, and then the unfortunate taster would keel over and they'd move on, I guess, to the next bottle. But there's a more practical aspect to that. You can tell a lot by looking at the wine, color extraction, and whether the wine's off or not. And then the smelling, are they achieving that wine that they want to achieve, the wine that they're known for? And then finally, obviously, the aromas and the tasting. So that's really kind of the whole wine tasting thing. The practicality of it is for the winemaker's purpose.
Being in business for almost 17 years, I've seen a lot of improvement in the quality and availability of wines throughout the years. There's almost anywhere you can think of all across the world, from New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Chile, Argentina, California. The availability to the suppliers that are involved in our industry is unending. They can get juice from anywhere.
The only way that you can have a winery and have a store on site of your winery is to have your fruit growing where you are. And we can only sell wine within Ontario here, or we can only sell it to the LCBO. So we don't have a lot of extra outlet, we can't sell to the grocery store or whatnot. And we are restricted to 100% Ontario grown fruit.
I can appreciate how difficult it is to start a winery, and it must be difficult, and I've read that it is difficult to get into the market. The LCBO controls the Ontario market, and I've read that it's very difficult for a small winery to get into that market.
A lot of the other wineries, the bigger wineries, they are still allowed to bring in wine or juice from other countries and blend it with a small percentage of Ontario and still operate. We cannot do that. We have to either grow it or buy it in Ontario.
As far as regions or countries, things like that, it doesn't really matter to me. I find though that French wines are sort of overpriced for what you get. I've had too many that I haven't really liked too much, and like you kind of tend to spend a little bit more money on French wines, just I guess because of the fact that they're French, or I don't know, but favorite type would probably be Cabernet Sauvignon.
It's hard to say. I'm kind of on a white kick right now, which is weird because we're in the middle of winter.
It varies by season. Summertime, I drink a lot of the fruit wines because they're light, they're easy drinking, and then in the wintertime I get back into red wines.
My favorite type of wine is a good quality wine. I like white wines, I like dry, I like sweet, I like red wines, I like big reds. And the fun part for me is I can make all the good stuff, especially for myself. The qualities of a better wine, you know, that's a really hard answer because if you ask 10 different people, you'll get 10 different answers. Everybody's palate is different and everybody's expectations on wines are different. And that's why there are so many different wines for you to choose from.
For me to try to explain what makes a good wine is kind of like explaining architecture through dance. You've heard that one before. It's hard to do because it's a very personal thing. So my job is to guide people and help them discover new things that within their realm, what they like.
So you're afraid of old man Satan, so why don't you stop your hesitating? You're gonna